DarkZero beat the odds in the North American Major to take their first championship ever. But how did the team that almost didn't make it to the Major at all go from 4th to 1st in America? Let's crunch the numbers behind DarkZero's exciting championship run. Much like TSM and Bolo, DZ caught flack for being the Hyper show. It wasn't a completely fair criticism, but Hyper's stats were, well, bonkers. He opened up with a 1.72 rating in their first series against the Sonics and only had one game under a 1.3 rating all stage. Averaging a kill per round with a whopping plus 30 on kills and deaths made him one of America's top players and by far DZ's best. While Mint and Skies held their own, Eclipse and Hot and Cold lagged behind in stage 1. Hot and Cold struggled the most of all the DZ players, in fact. While he had an impressive 11 plants to his name, Houghton hit a 0.64 KD ratio and a 0.84 rating, while also having just below a 0.5 KPR. DarkZero bounced back in the major qualifiers. They padded out their stats against Mirage, but had to lean on Hyper and Skies against the Sonics. Skies showed that Hyper wasn't the only fragger on the team, sitting only 0.02 behind Hyper in the ratings and 2 kills behind Hyper for KD. Meanwhile, Hot and Cold and Eclipse stepped up their game, with only Mint lagging behind on the stat sheet in the qualifiers. However, 2 games DarkZero were expected to win wasn't necessarily the best gauge of where the team sat heading into the Major. DZ opened up the weekend against the #1 seed Space Station as the heavy underdogs. Yet, despite this, DarkZero stunned the reigning world champs in an exciting 3-map series, pushing past a Bosco hard carry on SSG's side. Houghton took the reins in the opener, snagging a 1.19 rating and a very impressive 100% cost in the final map. Heading against TSM next, fans were licking their lips to see a Hyper and Bolo slugfest. Yet, neither superstar really showed up at all, and neither of them ended up fragging out in the semis, period. On DZ's side, 2 people stood out. First being Eclipse. He had a monster performance with a 1.49 rating and a plus 13 KD. The second was Hot and Cold, who was all hot, no cold, again with a 6-0 entry line and a 1.36 rating. After that, TSM and DarkZero would square off yet again in a lopsided end to the August Major. The rematch once again breaking in DarkZero's favor. Mint and Hyper came alive in the finals, each hitting over a 1.3 rating, with Mint pulling off a 1.05 KPR. For DZ, it was only Skies who had a rough finals, with the rest of his team hitting over 1.15 ratings to claim their first trophy ever. In the Major, Hyper performed well, but he wasn't their highest rated player once all Major, despite doing so for 3 out of their 4 Stage 1 matches. DarkZero finally managed to break free and win a title after running in circles for so long. If the entire squad can perform like this in Stage 2, expect to see them at the November Major.